I'm Starborn. Remember, to be a star, you have to shine your own light, follow your own path, and not be afraid of the darkness, because that's when stars shine brightest. In today's show, if you've been looking on our website, starborninstitute.org, you would know that the title is a little grim. The title of today's show is Infighting. And that is because there are some very harsh aspects that among the planets that could prompt some sort of infighting somewhere in your life this week. And so we can talk about the things that are happening very well for you, and then we can talk about some of the things that you need to watch out for, particularly in a week when I think there is going to be a lot of infighting. But first of all, you'd be surprised at that, because there are actually 5 planets beautifully trining each other in a grand trine in the Earth signs. And with half of all the planets in very harmonious aspect to each other, you could think, oh, what could go wrong? Well, I don't think too much is going wrong among the grand trine in Earth signs. But there can be some sort of side effects that we'll talk about in a minute. In the meantime, what we have now is Venus, the ruler of Taurus, is there, and it is conjuncting Uranus. Uranus is actually a planet of volatility and sudden surprising change and eccentricity and genius. And it rules the future, and it rules a different kind of love. It's actually called a love planet, just the way Venus is called a love planet. And so these two don't get together that often, but when they do, you can experience some delightful things, delightful feelings inside of you, or some very good luck regarding a practical matter, or perhaps the solution to a problem that you've been facing for a long time. Because Venus rules a touching kind of love. It rules Taurus, but it also rules Libra, which rules partnership and compromise and diplomacy and the law and all legal contracts. But when Venus is conjuncting Uranus, as it is doing today, it simply means that it is conjuncting a planet that represents a different kind of love, and one that can be what you might call soul satisfying. It's not a touching love. It is a love for something that you love to do. It is a love for whatever is around the next bend in the future that can be amazing. Uranus rules invention. It is a love that a lot of people share who all have the same interest in something. And so an example of that would be the way particularly Americans love the space program, because space is ruled by Uranus, and so is invention, and so is the future. And so what we really like to do is Americans like to be very inventive, and so that draws a lot of people together from unusual backgrounds who don't have that much in common in their daily lives, except for the fact they all love doing the same thing. Uranus rules music, and you know, it's the love of music that brings musicians together and it makes them create something brand new that we all love. So these two planets are conjuncting each other today, and that is wonderful for all of us. We could be seeking the future, or we could be seeking to share something that we love with someone else that loves doing the same thing or loves the same ideas. And so that can be great. The third planet that's in Taurus is Mercury. And Mercury is now direct, and it's the planet of the mind. So you see, there's a whole lot going on in the sign of Taurus right now. And Mercury has actually moved up to the end of Taurus. It's now at 27 degrees, and it's direct. And all 3 of these planets are now trining the moon today in Virgo at 28 degrees. And so that's 4 planets in very good aspect to each other, very harmonious. And all 4 of these planets, the 3 in Taurus and then the moon in Virgo, are also all trining Pluto in Capricorn, also at 28 degrees, but it's retrograde. But it's an exact trine to the moon at 28 degrees of Virgo, and it's very closely trining that Mercury at 27 degrees of Taurus. So you see, we have a lot of good things to look forward to. This grand trine in Earth sign can really help you solve financial problems, because Taurus is a financial sign. And it rules not only how you make your money, in other words, your paycheck, but it rules how you spend your money or what you invested in. Taurus rules the New York Stock Exchange, and it also rules the countries of Germany and of Israel, both known for high standards and hard work. And so that can be emphasized. Taurus is also the sun sign of somebody that's got a lot of endurance and is someone that the world looks up to. And it is a lady that has sat doing her job for 70 years, Queen Elizabeth. And she's somebody that her love for her people throughout the world has made her work hard her whole life, her whole adult life. And if ever we needed an example of how to make it through tough times, that lady she would have showed us, because she did make it through tough times and wars and economic ups and downs. I mean, she is one lady that's seen it all, and she never wavered. And so that's something to hold up as a high ideal for yourself. So when things get tough, just remember, you got to keep going. And this is a good time to do that, because you can improve your financial position somehow. Maybe you can sell something and pay down some of your bills. Maybe you can realign your investments so that they don't lose money, but perhaps are in safer positions. Maybe you want to improve your health. Virgo rules health. And so it's not just your physical health by going on a diet or exercising a little bit more, but maybe you want to improve your mental health, your mental attitude about people. Maybe you need to sort of raise your sights. You know, look for people who are better role models so that you can follow in their footsteps. Or maybe it's that you are concerned with your retirement or rewards or your public reputation. That's ruled by having Pluto in Capricorn. Capricorn rules Great Britain. So Queen Elizabeth, who is a Taurus, she fit right in there. And boy, she really went the distance, and she's still doing it. So Capricorn rules time, and it rules rewards you earn over a long period of time. So maybe you want to work on thinking more about your retirement or a pension, or even supplementing them. If you're already retired, but you know, inflation is so high right now, lots of people are taking little part-time jobs, sort of tide them over. Well, there's nothing wrong with that. So these are all really good things that you can concentrate on right now, but they all involve problem solving and being very realistic about things and being practical. So what they don't involve is they don't involve you questioning anything about a problem except how to fix it. In other words, being really pragmatic. And if you are that, then this is a right time to be doing that. You're going to get a lot of help with that too, by the way. But there can still be seething, infighting underneath the surface. And that is because some planets have harsh aspects to them. And that is why I think there's going to be infighting this week. But I think if I'm letting you know about it a little bit, maybe you can avoid it in one way or another. And that'll make your week a lot easier. Because the first thing that can cause seething, infighting, is that the sun is in Gemini and it is squaring that moon in Virgo. And when the sun and the moon, which are the lights, square or oppose each other, it creates indecision or confusion. And so that can be the reason for a lot of people sort of not understanding each other or coming at each other. Because either they're undecided and they can't make up their mind about something, or they're confused about something, and so, you know, they're just not getting the message. They're not connecting. And that can create seething, infighting in one way or another. So I would suggest if you are undecided or confused about something, you need to get right on that and go ask some people for answers, so that you are not a victim of infighting, or so that you do not pick a fight with anybody. This would be the wrong week to do that. And another thing is that the planets that are in Taurus are facing a challenge that they've been facing for a long time, at least for 2 years. And it is that Venus and now Uranus and Mercury, all of which are direct in Taurus, are being squared by Saturn in Aquarius. And Saturn is retrograde right now. It just turned retrograde. And that means that the hard work or the clouds on the horizon about your future plans, they can be pretty hard to get through right now. Maybe you just can't see your future clearly, because Saturn is in Aquarius, the sign of the future, and it's a planet that can create delay or extremely hard work that has to be done over and over and over, just sort of slogging through something. And when Venus is squared by either Saturn or Pluto, it is an indication of a betrayal. So it's possible that there will be some sort of betrayal showing up in your life this week. And so you could be thinking of that as sort of a setback. And yet, actually, it may prove to be very liberating. That's what I think it is going to prove to be. A betrayal somewhere will end up giving you a sense of relief, because it will liberate you somehow. Uranus is the planet of liberation and freedom. Remember that Venus is exactly conjuncting Uranus today, and Uranus rules Aquarius, where Saturn is. So I think that a betrayal that looks like a setback is actually going to be very liberating. So I mean, don't worry. I think you're going to come through it just fine. If it happens to you directly, it could happen through a job cutback. It could happen because of some sudden move. It could happen because you thought your plans were going to go forward, but then there are reasons why they are going to be canceled or cut down. They're probably good reasons. They might be business reasons. But still, the end result will actually be liberating. It'll free you up to go do something you wish you were doing anyway. So I think that that'll work out, but on the surface it will look like there is a lot of infighting going on about it. But when you get by yourself, you know, and you can think sort of clearly about it, I think you're going to be relieved and liberated. The third thing that is happening is that can create infighting, guaranteed, is that Mars and Jupiter in Aries are together in Aries, the sign of new beginnings, which Mars rules Aries, and they are being squared by Pluto in Capricorn, which is retrograde. When Pluto is retrograde, and it represents people in powerful positions who can make decisions in corporations or institutions or government agencies, or perhaps they're the head of the whole government. When Pluto and Mars are squaring each other, which they are doing right now, and they are the rulers of Scorpio, a fixed financial sign, it means that it's possible that some money that you thought was coming in or due is going to be a little hard for you to get your hands on. It may be that it doesn't actually come your way for one reason or another, legal or illegal, but you may not get the money that you were promised or that you thought you were going to be earning in one way or another, or that was left to you. Scorpio rules inheritance. So you've got to be prepared for that, because generally when people fight about money, there is some pretty severe infighting, and generally nobody wins. And so you have to make a decision about whether you want to, how much you want to fight about that, because tomorrow is another day. Tomorrow has brighter prospects. Venus and Uranus rules the future, rules tomorrow, are conjuncting in Taurus. There could be other revenue streams around besides the one that you may not get, or you may not get enough of it. And whether the reason is a good one or not so good, it doesn't look as if people are going to get something that was promised, or at least not as much as they thought. And it could certainly be due to changing economic times. So think twice before you get in an argument about something that you can't necessarily change, because then you're wasting your energy. Instead, start looking forward. There are other ways to make money. Remember, those 3 planets in Taurus are beautifully backed up. And Taurus is a fixed financial sign ruling how you make your money. Take advantage of what's there. There are a lot of good planets there. Just get out and work harder. So that's where I think we're going to be this week. And so now I will get into the predictions. I'm sorry I took so long again. I'm sort of worried about all this, but really, as long as you stick to practical problem solving and you don't allow yourself to get into infighting, you can have a pretty good week. But you just have to be a little careful to stay away from other people that are looking to take their anger out on you. Don't let them do that. These are very uncertain times. That's not your fault. They just are. And so you should, try to protect yourself if you can. Okay, what does this mean to all 12 of the sun signs? Aries. For you, you really have to try very hard, Aries, not to overdo it. And the reason why you could certainly be tempted to is because Mars is in your sign and it's your ruler. I mean, you're supercharged, Aries. You probably have a whole lot of good ideas. And if one of them fails, I don't think you'd mind that, because you just quickly move to the next idea. And you'd sort of stay in motion and keep going. Jupiter's in your sign. I mean, so you're sort of bursting with good ideas right now, Aries. They almost have nowhere to go, though. And the reason why is there's nothing in Leo and there's nothing in Sagittarius to support your sign right now. And so I would say, since you are full of some really good ideas and great energy, this may be a better time for you to work alone on everything that you've got. I mean, you could have some very inspirational ideas. Well, then you need to write them down real quick while you're still thinking of them, Aries. So, I mean, plan a little time to be by yourself so that you can make sure that you're taking notes on a huge wealth of good information or good ideas that you have. It's not like you have to put them all into motion right now. You don't have to act on any of them, but I would sure start making a list, Aries, because there could be more than one of your good ideas can be quite profitable. And so don't be afraid. Just be by yourself. Sort of get into your head. Aries rules the head. And start thinking of what's real important to you. And be creative. because those 3 planets in Taurus are right ahead of your sun sign. You really could make some pretty good money right now if you really got your ideas down on paper in a way where you can work on them or organize them, or, you know, let them take shape and then go forward. So Aries always wants everything real quick, but it's not a finishing sign. But the earth signs are. And with all those good planets in Taurus right ahead of your sun, you really need to get something down that, you know, if in a day or two you are involved in some sort of infighting, that would take your mind off these great ideas, wouldn't it? So get them down. Take some time now to be by yourself. You know, set these things up. They don't have to be completely well developed, but you just have to get them down. It's like when a musician has a song going through their head. They've got to do something with it right away. Or a writer who has an idea for expressing himself in one way or another, or herself, have got to get it down. Or an artist who needs to paint, or a photographer who needs to take a picture. Just follow your own vision, Aries. This is the right time to do that. And so if you have the choice of, oh, do I fight about this or do I follow my own vision? Go, you know, put all of your energy on your own head, Aries. You don't know what's going to come out of it, but something pretty marvelous could come out that you could make money on because of all those good planets in Taurus right ahead of yours. So good luck. Okay, what does it mean to a Taurus? Taurus. Well, Taurus, I think you're sitting pretty. And the reason why is your ruler is in your sign. You could be feeling rather generous right now, Taurus. You could have a good reason for that. You could have come into some money recently. Or you could have sold something that you made a nice profit on. And so now you can afford other nice things. That would be great. Or it can be that you just feel like investing in something that is intriguing to you. That is futuristic, that has great potential in the future. Okay, so it's not a proven product now, but you might think that it could be, and you might feel like putting some money into something like that, and I would say go right ahead and do that, Taurus. Your ruler's in your own sign. You do know what you're doing, and it's conjuncting Uranus, the planet of the future. And it's a very creative planet. And then Mercury, the planet of the mind and of communication, is in your sign. And all 3 are direct, trined by the moon in Virgo and by Pluto in Capricorn. You need to take some steps further either in your career, or I would say more specifically, steps that lead to a better future for you. So I'm not so certain that you should be taking steps that increase your career in your job or in your employment. In other words, spending all your energy on somebody else and making them rich. This may not be as good a time for you to do that, because it would be a better time for you to think about how to make yourself rich right now. And so that just means making a little investment on your own in something that you think has a great future. I think you would you follow your vision, Taurus. You could do a good job on that right now. And I think it would be profitable. So if you're striking out for greener pastures and you're following something that you think is just right for you, and it involves new things, who knows where that will lead. But I'm telling you, you have so much backup right now, it's going to lead somewhere great. So I think you ought to go for it. It's not just hard work that matters. It's vision. People with vision can make a lot of money. Even when times are bad, they can do that. Because they have this vision. They can see things ahead that nobody else can see. And that kind of vision about the future is ruled by Uranus. Uranus is being conjuncted by your own ruler, Venus, in your sign. So follow your own vision, Taurus. I think you're going to do just fine. Okay, what does it mean to a Gemini? Gemini. This is a time when, Gemini, I think that you are very concerned with something sort of pricey behind the scenes. Because the 3 good planets in Taurus are right behind your sun sign. And so you could have your mind on something that you feel would make you some more money. Or, you know, it might be pricey, but you could buy it at one price, but you could be thinking, oh, it's going to double. The value of it will double in a longer period of time. It's a good investment because it's going to go up. That could be true. And Gemini, since all those planets in Taurus are right behind your sun, Taurus does not only rule the stock exchange and investments, but it rules high-priced real estate. And it rules gourmet food and wine. And it rules high-priced art. And so there is something that you might want to be involved in behind the scenes that is pretty pricey, but if you can afford it, maybe you should buy it, because it probably will go up. On the other hand, if you're thinking of buying something that's pretty pricey, I would say that's a good idea too, because a lot of people are thinking that we might be heading into a recession. Okay, well, prices drop in a recession. So there could be something coming up that is of value, and if the price drops, as long as you've got something to pay for it with, you can make a pretty good investment. So think about what you want to do right now, Gemini. You have some wonderful planets right behind your sun sign. But you too could be involved in infighting. And the reason why is that the sun in Virgo is squaring your sun, and Neptune in Pisces is squaring your sun, and then the sun is in your sun. Wait a minute. Now, the sun in Gemini is squaring the moon in Virgo, but it's also being squared by Neptune in Pisces. There is a harsh T-cross in mutable signs. And so you could be easily misled right now by people who are not really telling you the whole story on something. And so you really need to, the money is the last thing you ought to part with. What you ought to be doing is a lot of investigative work right now on something that you might want to invest in, but you have to learn a lot more facts first. And check out and make sure that something is credible so that it holds its value and therefore can make a profit for you in the future. And that could be possible, but you need to check everything out first. Okay, what does it mean to a Cancer? Well, Cancer, there aren't a lot of planets in water signs right now, just one. It's Neptune, which is in Pisces, and it trines your sun. And so that's an indication that you have a sort of a nose for news right now, Cancer. And you can look behind the scenes and find out a lot of truth about things. And it can be, you can even think it's a little bit accidental, but maybe it was meant to be. Maybe you are supposed to be finding out the real truth about something behind the scenes right now and facing it. And so it is not the Cancer nature to want to fight with people. What Cancers do, because they have tender feelings, is if something riles them or they get upset and their emotions are, sort of blown out of proportion, they do crawl into their shell and stay there. And maybe that's a good place for you, Cancer, because Mars and Jupiter in Aries are squaring your sun, and Pluto in Capricorn is opposing your sun. So I would say, with Pluto in Capricorn opposing your sun, that there is the possibility of a betrayal around somewhere, because that Pluto is also squaring, Pluto is opposing your sun sign. And that Pluto is being squared by Mars and Jupiter, and they are squaring your sun as well. So Cancer, you can find it a little bit difficult to be moving around freely right now. You could be a person that can just be walking along and bump into somebody that wants to be involved in infighting. I mean, it's not like you're looking for a fight. It's that they're looking for one. And so, you know, you need to lower your profile right now, Cancer. You should just, you know, just walk with your head down. Or try to do things where you're not in amongst a big crowd. And so you're not opening yourself to the fury of the crowd. And that way you can more or less protect yourself a little bit, which I think you should do. Also, I wonder what you're going to do with the information that you find out about things behind the scenes. You know, sooner or later, you'll have to do something about it. But this is not these times are so uncertain. I would say that you really just need to look at the facts, and don't let your emotions make a decision for you right now. Just look at the facts. Because that's what earth signs would do. Earth signs would just look at the way something is, and they would say, okay, this is fine, or they would say, oh, I'm over that, I'm out of here, and I'm on to something better. So think like an earth sign if you can, Cancer. And try to stay away from people who are looking for a fight, because you have very gentle nature, and so they're looking for victims. And just don't let it be you, Cancer. Just stay out of something this week. And if you have to, think up a good excuse why you just can't be somewhere. Because that way you won't have to worry about any infighting. Okay, what does it mean to a Leo? Leo. This is a time when I think, Leo, that you have money problems. Now, you can have money. I'm not saying you're broke. But what I'm saying is you could have dollar signs in your eyes, Leo. And those are pretty big dollar signs. And you may not have enough money. And so that is because Venus, Uranus, and Mercury in Taurus are all squaring your sun. That's a fixed financial sign. So I don't think your investments are returning as much profit as you had hoped they would. That's not your fault. That is a condition brought on by uncertain economic times. And so you more or less have to ride that out or sell something. And also, your future is looking uncertain because Saturn has turned retrograde in Aquarius, and it is opposing your sun. So you have 4 strong planets in harsh aspect to your sun sign, Leo. And so that doesn't mean that you can't, you know, sort of move fast if you want to. Because Mars and Jupiter in Aries are trining your sun. You could still work on some sort of new beginning. You might either overwork, or you might say too much at the start, and you may actually, even if you don't realize you're doing it, you could be setting up a few people for infighting among themselves. They might not be infighting with you, but they could be infighting behind your back. And that is why you need to be careful. Fire signs like to move fast. But in uncertain economic times, it is better to move slowly. Because nobody can take a risk on losing anything. And with these harsh aspects from Taurus, a fixed financial sign, squaring your sun sign, and then the rulers of Scorpio, Mars and Pluto, are also squaring each other, and Scorpio squares your sun sign, and Saturn in Aquarius opposes your sun sign. I mean, you're not gonna get your way on some big financial deal right now. If somebody agrees to some to do business with you on a big financial deal, I would get a little suspicious of that. And you should then, before you sign anything and agree to anything, you ought to have a third party or somebody who isn't emotionally involved in something take a look at the facts before you agree to them. Because it looks to me like you are a little bit more in a situation where you would be losing money, not making money. And so there could be something you don't know that is being kept from you. And that's why you need somebody else to do a little work for you, to find out if some deal that you're thinking of is really what you might call legitimate or not. And remember, it could create infighting. And you might feel like getting involved in infighting, but I urge you not to do that. All it's going to do is wear you out. It might cost you money to do that. So I would step back if I were you. Okay, what does it mean to a Virgo? Well, Virgo, this is a time, Virgo, with the moon in your sign today, exactly trining Pluto in Capricorn, and then also being trined by Venus, Uranus, and Mercury, your own ruler, Virgo. It simply means that you are the right person at the right time, and you're in the right place, Virgo. I'm pretty sure you're going to get what you want. Now, it might be that whatever you want has something to do with self-improvement, because that's what your sign rules. All kinds of self-improvement. It could be intellectual self-improvement by studying something, getting a little better understanding of it, or getting more training. Or it could be physical improvement by joining a health club, or somehow, working out so that you're a little bit healthier by doing more exercise. Or you could decide that you get real serious about your nutrition. You might want to go on a little bit of a diet. And that looks like it's all going to work out really well, Virgo. You should sort of strike while the iron is hot if you want to go into self-improvement of any kind. Because you could make great strides right now doing that, which would be great. And if something costs a little bit of money, but it's going to improve you, well, spend the money. You're worth it. And realize that there is the possibility that somebody a little unconventional, perhaps brilliant, but a little eccentric, could be headed your way, Virgo. Love could be headed your way. And Virgos are very, they have a lot of common sense. Common sense is ruled by Virgo. And so, with the part of your brain that just dwells on common sense, you could say, oh, this person is very different. Different than me. Well, why not, Virgo? I mean, just because they're different from you doesn't mean they couldn't really add something wonderful to your life that has been missing. Virgos like their solitude. But that doesn't get you much. I mean, it gets you quiet. They like being quiet. But you need more than that in your life, Virgo. Everybody does. Particularly in a world that is going through so much uncertainty right now, we need each other. And you could say to yourself, well, I have everything I need. Oh, really? Where's the love? Do you have somebody sitting next to you loving you right now, Virgo? Because if you don't, they're out there somewhere, and they might be different than you. But with these wonderful planets in Taurus, which includes Venus and Uranus conjunct each other, and those are both the love planets, trining your sun, somebody unique and unusual and quite wonderful is probably headed your way. So, do not close the door on them, Virgo. Instead, they could open a door to you. and make your world maybe not as quiet, but certainly a lot more wonderful and loving. And that's worth it, Virgo. Virgos, no matter what age they are, they've already had enough solitude because they're just grown up. They've just grown up all their lives loving it. But it doesn't get you everything. We need to share. So, when love comes your way, Virgo, I hope you have a big smile on your face. Because it would be a once-in-a-lifetime deal. Okay, what does it mean to a Libra? Well, Libra, this is a time when I think you have to be a little bit careful because, Libra, there can be a betrayal around somewhere. And it's not instigated by you, but you could end up feeling it somehow. And that is because Mars and Jupiter in Aries are opposing your sun. That's too bad because Mars is a very aggressive planet. So you have to be extra careful and keep your guard up, Libra. And the reason why is because things, particularly either people or things that are moving too quickly, can be coming right at you. And so, you don't want to be the victim of a sudden accident, do you, Libra? That's why you need to be extra careful and keep your guard up and slow down a little bit, because that Mars is supercharged. And so that's just a little caution to be careful. And then as far as infighting goes, oh, well, naturally, Libra, somebody will want to fight with you. Why? Because you'd be an easy target. Your sign rules peace. Libras don't like to fight. But somebody could be coming looking for one. And, they may be so aggressive that you feel you have to speak up. And if you don't feel you can win an argument, there could still be seething, infighting going on beneath the surface. And you're going to have to sort of run away from that, or back away from that, Libra. And so if you feel that there are some people around you that are all caught up in the office gossip and you're supposed to take sides, why don't you call in sick tomorrow? Because you don't want to be a part of that. And besides, you wouldn't win anything. Not with Mars opposing your sun. And Saturn is trining your sun right now, and that's good. And the sun in Gemini is trining your sun, but Saturn is now retrograde. There is the possibility, Libra, that you have to rethink something and maybe do it over. But this second time that you do it over is probably when you're going to need to do it right, the way you should have done it the first time. And that may also involve some sort of a betrayal that turns out to be liberating. So I don't think that's such a bad thing. But you got to stay away from the angry mob, or even one person that's angry. Just stay away from that. And use any excuse you can to stay out of the infighting, Libra. You can think of an excuse. And then just run the other way. Okay, what does it mean to a Scorpio? Scorpio. Your rulers, Mars and Pluto, are squaring each other right now. And since they're in a harsh aspect, and yours is a fixed financial sign, and it is being opposed by Venus, Uranus, and Mercury in Taurus, and it's being squared by Saturn, which is retrograde in Aquarius, I would say that you could be involved in some sort of infighting now, Scorpio. And it could look at first as if the deck was stacked against you. But I don't really think it is. And the reason why is that Neptune in Pisces is trining your sun you are a person that knows a little bit more about what's been going on behind the scenes than other people realize. And you can make a pretty good decision right now, even if it involves a betrayal that that could seem that it's an awful thing to have happen, but in the end it turns out to be liberating. As I think that you would be happy with that. You might settle for that, Scorpio. Some sort of betrayal that sort of ends something, and instead of it being a terrible crushing blow, you actually can sit down and say, oh, that feels great. That load is off my shoulders. I don't have to worry about that anymore. And it turns out to be liberating. So I don't think that you are going to win an argument about anything. And so I think that the thing that you need to think about is the timing of how to settle a problem that should have been settled before. And the sooner you do that, the better. And the reason why is that the financial clock is ticking. The longer you wait, the more it'll cost you. You really have to just speak up and say, you know, we've got to call it quits here on this, and I'm willing to go ahead and pay up to this date, but no more after that. So that can be liberating. That means that something that had just grown to be just too heavy on your shoulders and not the right thing for you anyway, as long as you agree to just say, okay, this is it, game over, and you sort of pay. I don't think that you can get a good financial deal out of this. You just have to, you're paying to end it. And oddly enough, you're going to find it so liberating that as time goes on, you will look back and say, why didn't I do that before? Look at how much money I wasted by waiting. You should have done it before. But doing it now, that will sort of save your bacon, believe it or not, Scorpio. Even if it costs you money, that is going to save your bacon in the future. And on top of that, it will relieve you psychologically. There's just been some sort of infighting going on, and it's never going to stop. And that's what has to end. And so, you know how to do that. The game's over. And that's it. So, good luck on that, Scorpio. And realize that every moment that you wait, you are pouring money down the drain. And nobody should be doing that in these times. So, ending it is better. Okay, what does it mean to a Sagittarian? Sagittarius. Mars and Jupiter in Aries are still trining your sun. And so you could be thinking about making a new start, and you could be thinking about all the possibilities connected to that new start. And then everything is just perfect until you start looking at your budget. And then that's a different story. Because nobody's got enough money these days, simply because money isn't worth as much as it used to be. So inflation is too high, debt is too high, the interest rates are going up, and that is forcing a financial constriction. And that can be felt in companies, it can be felt in our homes. Just going to the grocery store, you can feel that. And so I think that what you can do is, I think that you should plan your new beginning, Sagittarius, which I think you're pretty excited about. You should be planning that in steps or phases. Okay, so does it have to be the big luxurious long-distance trip of a lifetime? Couldn't you do something a little shorter that doesn't cost so much. Might be to the same place, but not the big trip. Just something that's a little bit shorter or more economical for you. In other words, you go there, but you're being a little more economical with your money and staying a shorter period of time. That would be one phase. And maybe then you can save the money and next year do phase 2. And so on until you do achieve your dream. And it's paid for. No debt. And, you know, if you just save and do a little less and pay for it all, you're going to come out a big winner, Sagittarius. But it's a different way of thinking. It's thinking that you can afford a piece of this, one piece at a time, not the whole thing. And besides, even if you could afford the whole thing on something, this is not the time to let go of a lot of money, because nobody's too certain that they can get their hands on it again. So think about that, Sagittarius, because, you know, doing it in steps where you save your money and you can afford the step, that can make your trip very enjoyable, because you know you're not going to have any bills. Everything's paid for. So think about it. We all should live within our means. That's because the financial times are so uncertain that we can't afford to get out of that. We can't afford to go into more debt. And people who have a lot of debt, they have to pay it off and still try to live. That's really hard when inflation is so high. So think about just a little bit at a time, and all paid for, Sagittarius. You'll like it even more, I think, if there's no bills after your trip is all done. So I don't know if you're planning a trip, but if you are, summer's a great time to go on a trip. But shrink it a little bit to what your budget can really afford. Okay, what does it mean to a Capricorn? Well, Capricorn, this is a time when, just like Virgo, you can't lose, Capricorn. And that is because there are so many good planets in Earth signs in a grand trine, all trining each other. There's 5 of them. So yes, Pluto is retrograde in your sign, but it's being trined by the moon today in Virgo, which means you could have a more benign and more relaxed attitude about your health, and you can be wanting to improve your health, but sort of in a way that is pretty easy for you to do. That's fine, that'll work out. And then Pluto and the moon in Virgo are being trined by all 3 wonderful planets in Taurus, Venus, Uranus, and Mercury, and they are all direct. So Capricorn, if something beautiful or very nice has not landed on your doorstep already, it's on its way. It's coming, Capricorn. So I don't know if you, I think if you want to buy something pretty beautiful, I think you can afford it. And why not? And then if you are thinking about making some sort of an investment or selling an investment so that you have the cash to pay for something else that you want, that could work out really well for you, Capricorn. That's just moving your assets around. You're not really losing any money. You're just putting your money in a different place. Well, there's nothing wrong with that. And besides, it's time, Capricorns, they are not overly lavish with themselves. They're pretty careful with their money, even on themselves. And so they're pretty reasonable on everything. All their expenditures are pretty reasonable. And so I just think, Capricorn, that you should think outside of the box and just do something that is soothing and nice and enjoyable for yourself. I really think you should do that. And the reason why is you will really like it. And what's wrong with that? There are so many wonderful planets trining your sun that this is the time for you to enjoy something, or this is the time for you to fall in love, or this is the time to go somewhere you love, and to do things that make you feel good. So more power to you, Capricorn. You just go right ahead and do that. Don't worry about the infighting. The reason why is that you can somewhat cautiously can see it out there on the horizon, and you can duck and walk the other way. You can escape the infighting, Capricorn, and that's because you have so much support in the earth signs. You can sort of get out of it if you want to, so good luck. Okay, what does it mean to an Aquarian? Well, Aquarius, this is a time when I think, Aquarius, that love is all around. And by that I mean your ruler is Uranus, and it's in Taurus, along with Venus, which is conjuncting it, and Mercury. And yes, they're all squaring your sun where you have Saturn. So there could be a betrayal around, but not by the people that really love you. The people that really love you never went anywhere. They're still there. And they care. And it's rock solid. And so Saturn in your sign is squaring Venus, Uranus, and Mercury in Taurus. And when Venus and Saturn or Pluto square each other or oppose each other, it indicates a betrayal. So you may have already suffered some sort of betrayal, and if you haven't, it's sort of on its way, or it's coming, somewhat imminent. It could be this week. And instead of you succumbing to seething infighting about it, you could be looking at it sort of stoically, like it was a setback, which it definitely would be. But it turns out to be liberating. Now, how in the world could that happen? Well, because sometimes we do better when we have to learn to live on less. And what that means is that you, particularly in this technological age, when you think that you've got to have everything at your fingertips and it isn't there for one reason or another, well, then what are you going to do? Well, naturally, you're going to depend on yourself more. You're going to develop your own strengths. You're going to be freer. You're going to be liberated to do things your way because of a betrayal. So doing things your way can liberate you. Now, maybe that's already happened in your life. If not, it's on your doorstep. But remember, the people that really love you, they never went anywhere. In fact, they're closer now than they've ever been to you. And they're never leaving. So you've had to make a lot of adjustments in the last couple of years, and I think you didn't know you had it in you, but you do. And now this last thing can seem to be a betrayal, can seem to be pretty bad, until you just sit down and realize, well, I haven't lost anything I really care about, and now I can go forward on my own and do it my way. And Aquarians, they have vision, because that's what your sign rules, Aquarius. It rules tomorrow, the future. It rules inventing things. You know, Aquarians, they always have a little different outlook on a lot of things. And that is because their minds work sort of electrically. Their minds just zoom forward. Nothing slow about an Aquarian. They just, if they are thinking about something, zoom, they're off and running. Electrically. Electricity is ruled by Aquarius. So, I mean, you're going to do fine, Aquarius. Just stay away from the bombastic people that want to fight. And they want to take up your time with that. Well, your time is too important. You can't be bothered with infighting. You're free to do what you want. So why don't you do it? With all the love that people have for you, you can go forward if you want to. You'll find a way. So don't worry about it. Okay, what does it mean to a Pisces? Well, Pisces, this is a time when, since Neptune is still in your sign, and in fact it's the only planet in a water sign, it simply means, Pisces, that you are going to be able to see yourself pretty clearly right now. But I don't think other people are going to be able to see that clearly. Or they could have their own ideas of how to get you to do things for them. The sun in Gemini is squaring your sun. And the moon in Virgo is opposing your sun, where Neptune is. When the moon and Neptune oppose each other, that's not good. These are visionary planets, and they don't share the same vision, not in an opposition. And so, where would that be? Where you're not, you can understand yourself, but you're not really getting the message about something else, or somebody else isn't getting the message, and it's not connecting, and that could create infighting. It could be about your health. This is a time, Pisces, when you need to quit kidding yourself about your health. You really need a checkup. Now, why? Because it's the only way to get all your questions answered. And if you're starting to think of new things that you want to do, you better know you're on solid ground before, you got to walk before you can run. And if you really want to fly, you got to be in good shape for that too. And so, Pisces, you should go to the doctor and get a checkup. And just make sure that everything is working right. And ask for more tests. And if they test something and they find some little blip on the screen, get it taken care of right away. Because as soon as you get things taken care of that are little things, they'll go away. And then you can start on a new journey. Or then you can start doing something that involves some sort of new beginning that you want to do. But I think you need to know that you are able to do it. Physically and mentally able to do it. And generally that takes a little checking out by the doctor. And why not? Nothing wrong with getting a checkup. So it's just better for your own peace of mind, Pisces. And particularly since Neptune has been in your sign for years now. You could have been kidding yourself about something for a long time. And time marches on, which means we all get a little older. And that is why you got to go and get things checked out. So that you don't have to worry about anything. And you don't have to kid yourself. So try to think of it as a win-win. A win for you, a win for the doctor, and it's certainly a win for your future. So be sure and get little things taken care of. And correct them. Because then you'll be ready to take on additional responsibility. And you may as well get ready for that, Pisces, because Saturn is going to come into your sign next March. And it is the planet of responsibility. So that's what I mean. This is a good time to get ready. And avoid those infighters. Pisces has a peaceful nature. They don't need to fight. So stay away from those people and take care of yourself. Okay? All right. Thanks so much for tuning in. Remember, you can see the show and read our blog on our website, starborninstitute.org, or I can send it to you if you subscribe to my Karen Campbell YouTube channel. And if you tell your friends and they do that too, I'd be happy to send you the show on Wednesday nights at 8 p.m. Pacific Daylight Time. So until then, I'll see you next week. Bye.